If I had to describe this build in 6 words, it would be boom, 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 drums. Boom! Oh yes, you have never smoked like this before. Hello, my fellow adventurers, and welcome to a whole world of divine hurt that we are about to put down on anyone foolish enough to, as they say, have a go. This is my ultimate crit smite setup, and by that I don't mean, oh, we do one look of the far realms, illithid power to a guaranteed crit, and then that's it, okay, alright, move on. No, we're not gonna be illithid scum today. This is a permanent passive, near 60% crit chance smite that at base does up to 90 damage. And it's likely going to always roll for that top end because of a certain combination that we have got set up too. This is a quad class, multi-class build set up to enable this to happen using a select bit of gear, one very special weapon, and generally the utmost highest power of smiting fury. But it's not just a one Divine Smite pony. You have a whole bag of tricks to use here. A load of bard shenanigans, all of the flourishes and the utility they give you, some wizard spice sprinkled in for some self-haste, of course the paladinness, and even just a little bit of fighter, because why not? And this recipe bakes one hell of a damage pie. I really need to stop trying to cram food metaphors into my build videos and maybe just have dinner before making them so it's not on the brain. Anyway, I have been wanting to explore the realm of crit fishing for a while now. So I asked myself, what is the most satisfying thing to crit with? And well, a high-level Divine Smite is kind of up there. There isn't really much else that gives you that look at the damage feeling. And of course, naturally, I wanted it to happen as often and as hard as possible. And then I remembered a certain little mace that I've been wanting to make something around because it's just so ludicrous. Though we will get to that. Essentially, this just turns you into a one-man holy army that runs from enemy to enemy, utterly obliterating them, most of the time in one attack, and you get to do 4 of them a turn. And there's plenty of bonus action options for you too here. It's just so much fun. It really is. And with a Tempest Cleric and a Paladin Smite hybrid being fixed to no longer max damage dice that it shouldn't, it really doesn't get better than this. And it also doesn't get more long-lived than this. 12 smites that all do like 50 plus damage at the low end and up to 200 at the high end gets a long way into a day, especially if you're playing normally with 3 allies and not trying to solo 3 Steel Watchers and friends on Tactician to prove a point in a build guide. Though we should probably focus on those last 2 words there. Build guide. Join me then on this ultimate crit smiting journey. Starting with Paladin then, and taking, well, technically whichever oath you like, though I prefer Vengeance for the Inquisitor's Might, extra damage, and I just think Vengeance is cooler than Devotion and Ancients, if I'm honest with you, but really the Paladin is just here to get to level 2 to give us Divine Smite. This is your stat loadout that you want, the Charisma and Strength, the 16s of choice as our 2 most important stats, Dex and Constitution getting the 14 and 12, and sadly Intelligence and Wisdom not looking too great. Thankfully, we don't actually have to roleplay these characters. Level 2 Paladin is next then, and we can get, well, our Divine Smites, which is the whole point, but also our fighting style. And since we're using a one-handed non-finesse best weapon, dueling makes sense. Spells-wise, choose whatever you like the look of. None of them are key or required. I like to at least get the other two smites, but it really doesn't matter. So, that is Paladin already taken care of. We then want to move over to Bard. Bard is utterly perfect as a combination here, and that shouldn't come as a surprise. I'm sure you are likely very aware of the very popular time-honored Bardadin. In any case, spell-wise, again, nothing is absolutely mandatory, so just choose what you like the look of, and of course the drum is the superior of the 5 instruments. Then we will be taking this all the way to level 6. So at level 2, nothing crazy going on, just an extra spell, that's all well and good. And then at level 3, we get to choose our subclass. We want to be going for the College of Swords. This gets us our flourishes, which are really nice to have, really good utility, especially the ability to teleport to an enemy. It's really neat to have when you're smiting around the place, playing Corley a Paladin. Spells-wise, again, just grab whatever you like the look of, and then we don't really have a choice when it comes to fighting style, so grab yourself to weapon. Technically, on Paladin, you could choose the extra AC, and then here choose dueling, so you get two that are actually useful to you, which is the min-max way to go about it. So, we move on then, and get to our first feat after grabbing more spells and cantrips that you like the look of. The feat that we want, and the one downside of this build is we only get one feat, so we have to make sure it's the perfect one. It is Savage Attacker. So this, normally pretty in actual D&D, but in Baldurs Gate 3, it works on all of the things, including your smites and every attack. Essentially, this massively increases our average damage output in a big way, and it can't really be ignored in a smite spamming setup. Then we move on to get to level 5, which is nice, get a bit of improved inspiration and the like, and then we get our level 3 spells. Again, grab whichever takes your fancy. Then at level 6, and our final Bard level, we get the extra attack. This is what is so good about combining this with Bard. We get the spell slots of a full caster in Bard, but also the extra attack of a martial class to combo perfectly with the smites, both needing spell slots and as many swings as we can get. Spells-wise, again, whatever you like the look of. It is at this point that we start going into that crit fishing energy with Fighter. Now, technically speaking, 3 more levels of Bard or 3 more levels of Paladin gives you a more well-rounded class and build, but I specifically, and the goal here, is to crit as often and as hard as possible with smites, so that's what we're going to be leaning into. And here we go again with even more fighting style. So technically here we can get the defense that we could have chosen earlier along with dueling. Essentially we get to the point where there is too many styles to choose and none of them really actually help us. Certainly not at this point. In any case, get that lovely action surge that no one will ever say no to, and then finally level 3 lets us go into champion to get the improved critical hit. That is it for Fighter, which gives us one last level to spend, which is going to be, as you might imagine, on the Wizard. This is literally just for haste. Grab whatever cantrips you like the look of, and then the spells don't really matter because we only have one Wizard spell slot, and it is going to be used for haste. So, that is all good. Learn it via your scroll and have it prepared. Here we are then with the world's largest amount of buttons on your bars ever, all set up and ready to go. A lot of these you probably won't ever press, depending on what you chose and whether you actually find use for it, but the core is what matters. Our flourishing options to spend our bardic inspiration, our smiting endlessly, our haste from wizard, wizard, which is really, really nice to have, just that single one. Make sure, as I said, you actually learn it, and then use it as your one spell slot. We can whack on our Inquisitor's Might for a little bit of extra damage, so that's a good use of our Oath, and everything else just as it comes up, healing if you need it, buff yourself up, etc, etc. All of our spell slots, though, should be going on Smite, so if you're casting anything else, make sure it really is worth it. Past that, then, it comes down to what we are wearing and indeed holding. So, let's cover that last part first. Holding. It is the Deva mace, this plain, unseeming little whacker that really is kinda nuts. It just comes with an extra 4d8 radiant damage, which is basically a free, fairly high-level smite per swing, which, yes, stacks, of course, with your actual smites, which is how we end up doing this 16 to 89 damage and a just metric ton of radiant power. You get this by killing a Deva. The easiest one to get a hold of is by cursing yourself in the basement of the Stormshore Tabernacle, and then removing the curse, and then killing the Deva that spawns. You then rest, go back, there'll be a little bag on the floor, and in the bag is the Deva mace. This is just built to be a smiter, is it not? And I've been wanting to actually do something with this for the longest time. If I had a second feat, I would get dual wield, and then put on this for improved critical, but sadly I cannot. In any case, let's actually look at improved critical. So, we have Champion, which has taken us to 19 or 20. We put on this, the Deadshot, for even more improved critical, which gives us 18, 19, and 20 as our potential rolls, which is sold by Fitz, the Firecracker in the Stormshore Armory in Act 3. You just buy it off him, and then you just have it there for the passive. It also lets you do your ranged flourishes, so it does actually play into the build mechanically too. Then we have ourselves the Horned Helmet from the Big Baal Man himself. You get this off of his corpse in the Murder Tribunal, and once more, the crits go down. We're now on 17, 18, 19, and 20, so a 20% chance to crit. You can also then drink an Elixir of Viciousness to get you down to 16 if you want to go through them. All of that critness then is combined with this little gem, the Risky Ring. You can buy this in Act 2 in the Moonrise Towers from Raj Oblodra, and it gives you a very simple yet very potent effect. Just straight up advantage on all your attack rolls. That is obviously huge. The disadvantage on saving throws sucks, but that's why I've comboed it with the Helldust Boots to use a reaction to succeed saving throws. The extra teleport and ignoring difficult terrain ain't too shabby either. Use whatever boots you want, but I think these pair well. In any case, this is, yeah, advantage. Great, we're more likely to hit our smites. But the actual mechanical of it being that we're rolling 2 attacks every time we attack. So as we have a crit available on 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, if you've drunk the elixir, that's a 25% chance to crit, so a quarter of your attacks. This is rolling your attack twice, which means we have 2 chances to roll the 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, which is nearly a 50% coin flip crit chance, which is obviously ludicrous, nearly every other attack. That is so potent on top of, you know, this insane damage output by default. So, yeah, we are really looking good when it comes to smite damage. I combine this then with the Shadeslayer Cloak, just in case we ever manage to get that stealthy, even lower crit chance. We get the Helldust Gloves, because the spell attack roll and spell save DC for whatever reason, actually does help Smite land, even though other increased spell attack rolls and spell save DC items don't. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but I've tested it and it does. But mainly that extra d6 of fire damage will also get increased with the crits that we're fishing for, so it's a nice double up. And then armor-wise, I've thrown on Persistence just to be massively unkillable, having 21 AC and essentially double effective health, as most damage you take is damage halved by Blade Ward, is obviously wonderful. And then my necklace is greater health for the advantage on Constitution saving throws to maintain the concentration on haste as easily as possible. And yes, if you are also going to use this, technically you want to dump your con at character creation at level 1 down to 8 and put the extra points into Dex and then Int and Wisdom as you see fit. I didn't do that at the start of this when I showed you what you needed, just for people that are actually going to follow this along from a lower level. In any case then, this is all set up. In any case, that is what your gear is looking like. Max damage weapon with max damage and survivability supporting cast, along with all of the lowered crit chance we can get without giving up anything that is more important than a single lowered crit chance. So when we're actually using it in combat, it's as simple as could be, because we just want to hit things repeatedly with Smite. So when it comes to actually running the build, it couldn't be more straightforward. As I said, we want to avoid using spell slots on anything other than smiting and haste, so if you are going to, make sure it is very needed. Other than that, buff up with what is safe to do so, give yourself the haste, and then we are ready to get into it. We'll open with a level 1 smite on Ellen here, and I'm sorry. Oh! God, it's just... Oh, it was so unnecessary. Oh, there was like 80 damage? My God. And now we wait for everyone to try their best to do any kind of significant damage or break my concentration on haste, but that's what the amulet is for, so in theory, they, statistically speaking, shouldn't get anywhere near to actually doing anything concerning to me. Why did he run up and punch me for 0 damage? That is a brave, brave archer. So, here we are then on our turn. You do want to at least use your Inquisitor's Might, just so we get a little bit of extra damage out of everything, and then we just start going to town. Level 4, and here we go. So what, like over 100 damage? Oh, and then because this actually lets us daze enemies, our chance to hit skyrockets to the full 99%, which is just awesome. We will do that, and now we'll go to a level 1. Always use the about right amount of damage, even though that's sometimes easier said than done. We'll go for a level 2 on this guy. It's just so silly. It is absolutely so silly. We actually miss? No! We'll do our action surge just to have another pop at this guy. Oh, well done to him. And then I'm going to use my defensive flourish just to both kill him and to make myself that much harder to hit for the rest of, well, proceedings. So, once again, we'll let them try their best to do anything of note to us. No, I've been pinned down. Oh, anyway, let's carry on smiting. One more level 4. Oh, that's a shame. No crit, but that's okay. For we just keep on keeping on smiting our way through. Because that's the thing with this, you don't need to crit to do an absolutely metric ton of damage, because we just have an absolutely metric ton of damage. Might as well use my bonus action on a little bit of healing here, that's all well and good, and then we'll let him try to, well, again, achieve literally anything of note. Ah, we're going for the old invisible arrow delay turn tactic. Very, very nice. Oh, come on. You don't need to go on the bloody roof. For Fortunately, our boots will let us teleport up here after him, and then carry on the endless smiting offensive. So yeah, it's just so much fun. You just click, and things explode in colossal amounts of damage, and then you walk away, job well done, knowing that whatever your chosen deity is very pleased with the utmost destruction that you have wrought. It really is such a satisfying way to play, and I, for one, cannot recommend it enough if you are a fan of smiting, and, of course, a fan of playing the drums. That is definitely a upside too. Alright then, everybody, I hope you have very much enjoyed this. I hope it has inspired you, and if you do end up using it or anything similar, well, have a blast dealing blasts of ultimate radiant. It's just so brilliant. It really, really is. For now then, like you've enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world our stage. Goodbye.